All right, let's play with a little bit different of an object here. Let's start with, I'm going to my ZBrush here, we'll grab a cylinder 3D, drag it out of my canvas, go into edit mode. I'm going to change it to matte cap gray, which will be right here. And now we're going to make it a polymesh 3D. I'm going to turn on the poly frame here. We're going to go into geometry, edge loop, and we're going to delete loops. That's going to get rid of these extraneous loops that we don't really want. I'm looking for just a nice kind of a mug, like a coffee mug that we're going to make here. So I'm going to go to my Z modeler brush, which is BZM. We're going to hover over an edge, hit the space bar, insert multiple edge loops, interactive elevation. And we'll go ahead and just pull this out and get a nice curve going like this. I'm going to hit W, and we're just going to scale that curve up just a bit. So we're getting this nice shape right here is what I'm looking for. If I hold down Control Shift and then Alt, I can get rid of these top pieces here, go to Geometry, Modify Topology, Delete Hidden. In order to see both sides of this object, I'm going to go in here to Double, which is going to be under display properties here. Here's double and flip. If I flip the faces with double off, you're going to see it inverts the faces here. And then I can turn double on, I can see both sides. So to continue modeling this thing here, what I can do is I can take this here. I'm going to go Q Mesh, Polygroup Island, and this blue mesh down here, let's go ahead and turn off the floor. I'm going to Q Mesh this down a little bit. We're just going to give it a nice little base here. If we want to soften this transition out a bit, we can go over here, hover over that edge, go to Bevel, Edge Loop Complete. We can put a little bevel in there. And I think that'll just about do it. So let's go ahead and hover over a face. We're going to Q Mesh all polygons here, and then bring this in. We're going to give it the glass some thickness. Now, if I go over here to turn off double and turn on flip here, you're going to see I would rather have a nice thick bottom to this base. Right now it goes all the way down. So what I'm going to do is turn on double again. I'm going to hover over this face. I'm going to Q Mesh, again, Polygroup Island. And as I pull this up, oh wait, actually let's do Q Mesh Flat Island. And now as I pull this up, it's going to snap automatically to that bottom area there. So now when I flip these, you're going to see that's how high we are. And I'm just going to go in here with my move brush, just grab this point and kind of pull it up. In fact, you know what, let's grab, hold down Control Shift, we'll just isolate these faces here, and then we're just going to hold down Control Shift, go up here to Clip Curve, and we'll just clip these back to a straight face. There we go. So now we got a nice bottom area that's going to be a little bit more filled with glass. And let's go ahead and flip this again. So here is our glass mug. Now, in order to orient ourselves in space, we're going to turn on the floor. So here's our Z forward. I'm just going to go all the way to the back of the object here, and this is where we'll insert the handle. In order to give our handle a little bit more room, I'm going to go to this top polygon here with my Z modeler brush, hover over face, Q Mesh, again, Polygroup Island, and we'll just pull this up, and we'll pull it up again. There we go. Now, again, if you want to go into your gizmo, you can make this thing more stretched out or squatter, whatever size cup you want to make. But I think this will work. Now, when I go to do the handle here, we got Z forward, so I'm around the back of my object. I want a thinner handle, so what I can do is I can either go in here to slide, edge loop complete, and I can slide this up. And let's say I want to make my handle that thin, and then I want to connect it somewhere down here. I can also go to insert, single edge loop. I just put an edge loop right here, and I can connect it. Let's say we want to connect this one to this one down here. If I hold down Alt and drag over, that's going to tag those two surfaces, and again, you just Alt and paint those. But now we can hover over a face here, go to delete a single poly, it'll go ahead and delete all those. If you want more information on Z Modeler, the Z Modeler brush, again, go to my YouTube channel. I've got videos on there that'll go through these processes in great detail. But for now, I'm just going to go hover over this edge here, and we're going to go to Bridge, Two Holes, Spline. So we're going to touch this edge, and pull, and now we can just kind of add a handle that way. Now if we want to tilt this handle up, what I can do is hold down Control Shift, go into Select Lasso. I'm going to grab these pieces here, Control Shift X to expand, Control Tap to mask those, Control Shift Tap to bring everything else back, and then Control Tap to invert that masking. Now when I hit W, I can go in here to my gizmo, and I can choose, probably Deformer will be fine. And here you can go in here and change your X, Y, and Z divides. I'm going to crank my Z divides up. It was already set for me pretty nicely. And now I'm going to hold down Control Shift, and then, Control and then Alt to unmask these points. And now I can just pull these up. I can do the same thing here. Control Alt Mask, pull these up, and then Control drag to unmask everything. If I wanted to bring all the points back, I can Control Tap. And even if I move all of these at once, it's only going to move the unmasked areas. But I just want to move this one here, so I'm going to Control Alt mask this one and kind of bring these up. And then when I'm done, I can hit W, and then I can hit accept. And now I can go through here and I can kind of fine tune these edges as needed, like so. I can also go through here and control mask this area out. Instead of control mask pin, let's do mask lasso. I'm going to mask all of this here, control tap to invert that, and then I'm just going to thin this out along that axis there. Now, when I go to smooth this out, I'm going to hit D, and that's going to go into my dynamic subdivisions here, which is going to be under the geometry tab. And you're going to see that we have under dynamic subdivision, we have that turned on, and we have a preview of what it would look like if we smoothed this thing or added 2 subdivisions to it. So if I turn off my polyframe here, this is what it's going to look like. I can tighten up these edges manually if I want to by adding control loops here. So if I go into my Z modeler brush, go to insert single edge loop, I can just kind of put a loop in here and see how it kind of gets tighter as I insert that loop. Let's go and turn on polyframe here. So you can see as I insert an edge loop, it'll make it tighter. Another thing we can do though is we can go over here just like we did when we were creasing the logo. We can go in here to geometry. Let's close down edge loop. We got crease down here. So under this crease tolerance, I'm going to drag that down to like 49 and then hit crease, and that's going to change all of these creases in here to any angles that are more than 49. So if I hit D here, that's going to take me to dynamic, and now I've got a nicely creased object here. Let's go ahead and smooth this area out here. Now, there's one problem with this. As I go over here to dynamic, you're going to see I have my smooth subdivision set to 2. It's pretty nice and smooth, but there's still some faceting here. So I go to smooth subdivision level of 3, it gets smoother, but these creases are really sharp. This looks like a very, very fake CG object because no object really has creases this sharp unless it's been manufactured that way, which why would a mug be manufactured with creases this sharp? So what I'm going to do is instead of going in there and building control loops to tighten my edges, I'm going to go over here, and between my crease level and my smooth subdivisions, I'm going to make these creases a little less sharp. So right now it's creasing, if I drop my crease level, so my smooth subdivision is set to 4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 divisions. If I drop my crease level to 3 and then do Shift D and then D again to turn off dynamic and turn it back on, you're going to see those creases stop being so sharp. Basically what it's doing is subdividing up 3 times, uncreasing everything, and then subdividing 1 more time. If I drop that crease level to 2 and then redo this, they're getting softer. And if I go to crease level of 1, basically what it's doing is subdividing once with a crease and then uncreasing and then subdividing however many more times I tell it to in this smooth subdivision section right here. So now we're getting a nice smooth fall off on those. Now if you wanted to as well, you could tell it, you know what, I don't want these crease. I'm going to hover over this edge here. We're going to go to crease, edge loop complete, hold down Alt, and we can just uncrease those if you wanted to look like that. Or along this edge of this handle here, you can uncrease these if you want it to be more rounded. And I think I like that look better. A couple problem areas we have down here. Let's go ahead and turn our floor off. You can see this didn't get creased, or it did get creased, but the subdivision isn't holding up quite as nicely. If I do Shift D, it's adding some scalloping down here because of these polarized ends, and it's also probably doing the same thing on the inside. You see these little kind of scallops going on the outside. So in this case, what I am going to do is do an insert single edge loop, but I am going to put a control loop in here to kind of help these edges along the bottom not be quite so scalloped. There we go. I still want it to be soft, just not have any kind of scalloped rendering error looks. Like so. Okay, so here's our mug that we're going to take into Keyshot. But while we're in here, let's go ahead and make some liquid that's going to be filling this mug. One really easy way to do that is just to use a pre-existing geometry to just fill in this inner area here. So what I'm going to do is go into here to my subtool menu, and I'm going to duplicate this off. We're going to go to solo mode here, and I need to determine where I want this liquid to kind of fill up. Now it's really only going to utilize these inside areas here, so I can probably just paint this. Let's hold down Control Shift and tap. Yeah, it gets a little bit weird. So I'm going to do Shift D, and I'm in solo mode by the way, so I'm only seeing one version of my cup here. We're going to go into visibility mode, and let's say I want the liquid to be about here to here, and I can hold down Control Shift and Alt to get rid of those pieces. That'll work. So I'm going to go ahead and delete hidden, and that's under Geometry, Modify Topology, Delete Hidden. And now we have an interior face and an exterior face. The exterior face is going to be glass. I don't need that. So if I go in here to my Polygroup menu and do Auto Groups, you're going to see I have an interior faces and an exterior faces. Let's hold down Control Shift, isolate these interior faces, and then hit Delete Hidden again, Geometry, Modify Topology, Delete Hidden. And I'm going to cap this top piece here because this is going to be interior liquids basically. I'm going to hover over this edge. We're going to go to Close, Convex Hole, and we're just going to close this hole here. Now we didn't really see anything happen because our geometry is flipped, because when we took the inside faces, we just kind of left us with flipped geometry. So I'm going to flip that geo, and now I have nice solid geometry. If we go out of solo mode, you're going to see I have this liquid is completely filling up that interior space here. So let's go ahead and go back into solo mode. You can also see we still maintain the creasing that we had on our original object, which is nice. And just for the heck of it, let's hold down Control Shift, isolate this top part, hit Control W to make that all one polygroup. And then I'm also going to put a crease. So I'm going to hover over that edge, do a crease, edge loop complete, and we're going to crease this top edge here. And also, because it was a duplicate, it maintained our dynamic property. So I turn on dynamic by hitting D. You're going to see that it's going to subdivide once here in the crease level and smooth subdivide 4 times. We are still getting some scalloping here. So on the top and bottom here, I'm going to do an insert single edge loop like so. And then also on the bottom, I think they already have that inserted there. So that's getting nice subdivisions here. Now, before we go into Keyshot, I am going to back off this liquid from quite touching those surfaces. One easy way to do that, I go into solo mode here, and I hit Shift D to go out of dynamic. Let's go ahead and use polygroups, group by normals, and what that's going to do is give this top part a polygroup, this bottom part a polygroup, and then this side part a polygroup here. So now I can hover over this face with my Z modeler brush, do Q mesh, polygroup all, and then as I'm pushing in, I can hold down Shift and just move in slightly along that surface normal. So now when I hit D to dynamically subdivide, that liquid, it's just barely not touching that surface here. Now on the bottom here too, I am going to kind of lift this up just a bit. So we're going to hold down Shift as we move this up just a bit. And then the top we can leave because there's nothing really touching that top part here. So we've got a mug with some liquid in it. And if we want to have a little bit more fun, I'm not going to say this is going to work for sure, but we can also, there's a couple different things we can do. We can hover over this face here. We can do Q mesh polygroup all. And if I hold down Control, that's going to pop a piece off here. And we can make some thickness here. But instead, I'm going to do it just like we did with the mug. I'm going to duplicate this off. I'm going to go into solo mode here. I'm going to take this top cap, and we're just going to do a quick delete hidden. And then I'm going to hit Shift D. And then we're going to do Q mesh polygroup all. We're going to pull this straight up. And this will be like cream or something or whatever. If we want to put like a beer head on it or something, we can do it with this object right here. So now if I go out of solo mode, we're going to see it's just going straight up. And if we turn off the mug, we now have our liquid and our new surface here. If I hit D, that'll be our subdivision surface, and that'll be kind of separated out here. I think that'll work. Just to play it perfectly safe, maybe I want to kind of take this one and kind of move it up just a tad too. There we go. So let's take both of these into Keyshot and see how it plays out. So I'm going to turn everything on. I really don't care about material assignments now. We talked a little bit about that in the previous demo. But now what I'm going to do is go under here to Render, Keyshot, hit BPR, and it's going to shoot all 3 of these objects over to Keyshot. Now, if you don't have Keyshot loaded already, it will go ahead and load up Keyshot for you and then send it over. I have Keyshot loaded, so now I can just go through here and start rendering. Of course, if you want to know more specifics about Keyshot, then go back and watch the previous videos in this series, and that'll kind of walk you through the basics. And actually, before we hop into Keyshot, one more thing I want to do. It might come in handy later. I'm going to Alt-tap this mug we were working on here. I'm going to do a Shift-D to temporarily turn off our dynamic subdivisions. I'm going to go all the way down here to the polygroups menu, and I'm going to do group by normals, and that's going to polygroup all these separate faces by their normal angle. And with that done, I'm going to go and I'm going to go to Z plugin here, which I just docked from this menu here over to this side, and I'm going to go to UV master. I'm going to turn off symmetry, but I'm going to leave polygroups on. I'm going to hit unwrap, but before I do that, I'm going to hit work on clone so I don't ruin my other one. And so now I'm going to do unwrap with polygroups on. That's going to take each polygroup and unwrap it to its own shell. So if I hit flatten, you're going to see this is what my shells look like. If you want to rearrange these, you can. You can isolate them, mask them, go through here and rearrange them however you want. I really don't care too much. I just wanted some UVs because it might come in handy later while I'm in Keyshot. So when I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and hit unflatten. I'm going to copy these UVs, and then I'm going to go back to my original model here, and I'm going to paste those UVs. Now when I do paste my UVs, I do lose my creasing. I think that's a bug. So I'm just going to go through here, and I'm going to recrease these, and now I'm just going to go back through, and we'll go ahead and uncrease these handles over here. There we go. So now when I hit D, everything's back to normal. And just one more time, we've got our glass mug here, or our ceramic mug, whatever we decide. We've got our liquid here. If I go into solo mode, this is going to be our liquid. And then we've got our maybe our foam on top, or if we're doing a cappuccino or something, maybe our froth milk or whatever we want. Now, to be clear, technically you shouldn't have to back these pieces off. You can break these. It gets a little bit more complicated than what I want to go into when it comes to putting liquid in a glass and, you know, doing separate liquid properties for surfaces that touch air versus surfaces that touch glass and all that stuff. So I'm simplifying this and just saying, hey, take this and just back it up off the glass just a tiny bit, leaving an air pocket. It's not really how you should do it, but for this demo, I think it's fine. So now that we've got all these pieces, we'll head back into Keyshot again by hitting BPR, and that'll shoot it on over to Keyshot for us. And now our object has UVs, which again might come in handy later.